this is Editing KJ with a quick note that this episode was recorded before the WGA strike and the SAG-AFTRA strikes were resolved, and in some cases possibly before the strikes began. We're super happy to be back, so please enjoy this episode. My name is KJ, and you're listening to the Supernatural Opinions podcast, where some things in this world are supernatural. My pronouns are she, they, and this is the podcast where I talk to my fellow Supernatural fans about Supernatural, and we share our supernatural opinions. Today, I'm being joined by my guest, Frances. We are on our own, unattended in the studio.
Oh my goodness, who let us do that?
Frances, it's been a while since you've been here, but you are one of our very first original guests. But please remind the people who you are.
Hi, I'm Frances. I go by she, her, and like KJ said, I've been, guest rolling on a lot of the episodes, and I'm happy to be back. It's been a little while.
It has been a little while. I don't remember exactly when you were last year, but it was not recently.
I don't think it's been season 4. I think this is my first season 4 episode.
Well, welcome to season 4. We're very happy you're here.
Me too.
As always. And let's just roll right into the thing. Meredith's not here this week. We miss her very much.
We do. Big sad.
But we're gonna do our best. And this week we're recapping season 4, episode 8, Wishful Thinking, which originally aired on November 6, 2008, which is almost but not quite my birthday. I think the only episode of Supernatural that's actually aired on my birthday, unfortunately, is Bugs.
Ew.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Somebody check. I know that there's a website you can check. And that title is a reference to the events of this episode. Wishful thinking, by definition, is when you form your beliefs and attitude based on what you want rather than the reality that you're living with, making that outcome really unlikely or impossible. Like, you believe you're going to get an A on a test, but you haven't studied. It's just unlikely to happen for the average person. Obviously, if you're some sort of genius with a photographic memory, different story, but for most of us, we need to learn the material at least a couple of times.
Yes.
This week's episode will contain spoilers for this episode and may reference previous episodes, but will not contain spoilers for later episodes of Supernatural. This episode was written by Ben Edlund and Lou Bolo and directed by Robert Singer. Ben Edlund was just here. He just wrote Monster Movie, season 4, episode 5, and Lou Bolo was also here pretty recently. This is his second and final writing credit, but he is going to remain with us as stunt coordinator through to the end of season 12.
A long time.
Yeah, he's the stunt coordinator from episode 2 until the end of episode 12. So he's worked on the show a lot, and yeah, this is the second episode that he has written, and it's his last time writing, but he did a good job.
Yes, it's a good episode.
Yeah, I didn't check in my notes to see when he what else he wrote, but now I want to know. I'm sure we talked about it when it happened, but I'm just gonna do a quick check so we can see if that matters to what we just watched and witnessed.
Yes, we witnessed a lot in this episode.
Yes, we did witness a lot of things that we had not previously witnessed. His previous episode was episode 2 of this season. Are You There, God? It's Me, D. Winchester, the Rising of the Witnesses episode. So a good episode, perfectly good episode. Yeah, which he co-wrote, I believe. He co-wrote it with Sarah Gamble.
Oh,
so yeah, solid episodes. I mean, 2 for 2, I would say, in terms of writing. Solid. Anyway, Robert Singer was also just here really recently on 405 as well. So with Ben Edlund on 405 Monster Movie, because why break up a decent team?
They're a pretty iconic duo.
Yeah, I mean, they're not Buck Lemmings, but where they have a little contraction name. Let's just call it a ship name. But yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Frances, what would you like to rate this episode?
It's one of my favorite episodes just because of how much they deal with in this episode. So I would rate it a 4.5 out of 5. I rate it pretty highly.
Interesting. I'm gonna rate it a little less highly, but not because I think it's bad. I just don't think it's necessary. It's the definition of a filler episode.
Yeah, definitely.
And I do think some of it is a little bit silly. And I think some things have happened in the meantime that have made this episode less enjoyable for me. But I'm gonna give it like a 7.5 out of 10. Like it's decent.
Okay.
It's pretty decent. I was entertained.
100% entertained.
I did get to talk about some things that I've been dying to talk about. So there's that. Death counts. This week we only saw one death. It was very brief. It was not a lasting death, but Sam Winchester was dead, which is never my favorite thing to see, except for maybe in this episode. We'll get into it. But that brings our on-screen total to 283, and the on and off-screen total for this episode was also just that, and it's 1,932 plus. Not very often that like basically nobody dies.
I know, that's weird.
It's weird that like things were so crazy in this town, and actually the only person who died was Sam, and it was so temporary. That is the most forgotten Winchester death that's ever happened. I think if you ask people to like list off times that the Winchesters have died, it rarely, if ever, makes the list.
Yeah, I completely forgot about it until it happened, and I'm like, oh, that's right, he died in this episode for a minute.
Sometimes when I make TikToks or I'm looking for like a really specific like reference, when I go back to watch the episodes, they'll start in the middle, and I turned on this episode to take notes, and it was just dead Sam.
That's so funny.
Like, immediately Sam on the ground dead. I was like, what the hell was I doing? Why did I need to see this? Like, what was I watching this for?
That's awesome though.
But yeah, that is where I started this week.
It's a good way to start your week.
Yeah. There were no reported angelic deaths because Cass was entirely absent from this episode and therefore had no one to update us on the Heavenly Host.
The audacity.
Honestly, Cass has been very, very spottily present in the first half of this season. It's a problem.
It's a big problem. They introduced this wonderful character and they're like, you'll get him every once in a while.
Yeah. We had him last week though, so it hasn't been too long. We were on like a streak before that where he was not here, and I started to be annoyed. I was like, it's been 3 weeks in a row. Where is our angel? But he was here last week, and there was no reason for him to be here this week, so it's fine. True. Let's just get into the recap. Let's go for it. Luckily for us, the episode doesn't begin with Sam dying. Unluckily for us, we do start with a woman in the shower, and I get that it's like a horror movie trope, and it's like a reference to Psycho specifically, but like there's gotta be less weirdness about women naked in the shower. We gotta stop this.
I mean, whenever I'm home alone and I have to take a shower, I like lock all the doors, I lock the bathroom door, turn all the lights on, and I'm like, nobody better come in here. Only because of all these like tropes where I'm like, it could happen, but it couldn't.
Yeah, it's very unlikely. And like, is it really that much worse than like any other time someone comes into your home uninvited? Like, yes, you are in the shower and you're naked, so like you feel extra vulnerable. But like, even if you're fully clothed and sitting in front of the TV, if somebody enters your home, it's still bad news.
Yeah, very true.
And we gotta stop. And we just gotta stop. Like some things happen in this episode. It's not as bad as last week. No, actually, it might be. Anyway, let's just talk about this woman in the shower. There's a kid. He's a teenager. He's like creeping on her, but he's like sort of visible, but not really. She's like at some sort of gym. It's like a public bathroom. I'm like, I don't know. Like if you're like a woman in a public bathroom at like a gym or something like that, like you expect to be safe. Like, yes, there are other people around, but they're all, for the most part, other women. And like, there's something about that environment that is like inherently safe.
Yeah, I agree. But like, you never know. The doors are always wide open. Someone could walk in. There's no like security watching.
That is true. I just think like, I don't know. It's been a while, but like I used to go to the public pool when I was a kid, and like there was a door obviously on like the lobby side, but like there wasn't even a door on the other side. Like you like went into the change room, and then like there was no door. Then you were in like a shower room, and then there was and then the pool. Like
yeah.
So yeah, I guess like people could just go back and forth, and like people used to bring like their like young like male presenting children into the bathrooms like when they're too young to go through the men's side without like a male adult. Like, but like teenagers, you just don't expect to see like a teenage boy in there.
Exactly.
And I have a problem with how this whole storyline is handled at the end of the episode, but Anyway, she tosses her hair towel, which is a little bit careless for a public bathroom, but it hits this kid and he like freaks out and she freaks out, obviously, because there's an invisible kid in the bathroom with her. Then we're like title card and onto Sam and Dean, and Sam's trying to figure out why Uriel told him to ask Dean about Hal, and Dean is leveraging his social capital as Sam's brother / parent to get Sam to forget about Uriel and just not talk about it the way that Dean's allegedly forgotten about Hal. Like, just don't remember anything. Sam's not buying it. He makes Dean look him in the eye and say that he doesn't remember, and their waiter is being exceptionally pushy about upselling them for like additional items on their bill, which is fine, but it's very annoying.
It is annoying. Like, I get that they have like a quota or whatever to make, but like they'll give you a tip anyways. Just
it's
go away.
So obvious that they're having a serious conversation, like from the way that they are like sitting and talking to each other. Like, it's so obvious from an outsider perspective that like a serious conversation is happening. Like, just don't. There's a time and a place, and this is not it.
Exactly.
Sam has a ghost story, and Dean's like, women's showers, you say? We can make this even more pervy. And I just wish he wouldn't.
Yeah.
But Sam stops at this Asian restaurant to interview Candace, the woman from the shower, and his cover is author of Supernatural, a book series he's planning on writing. He's been crossing the country gathering ghost stories. And I'm like, maybe he did this for real. You wouldn't have so many money problems. Like, we could solve some money problems. This would not be that difficult for you. Like, this feels like something Sam should and could do.
100%. I mean, he was a lawyer or going to school to be a lawyer. So like he knows like the ramifications of like, the back end of that kind of deal making for publishing and whatever, so it should be relatively easy for him to just like write a book and go to a publisher and be like, I know the legal jargon, just publish my book.
He reads a lot, and like, I feel like, they're already doing all of this investigating anyway. If he just like wrote some shit down, like people are either gonna believe him or not. But like, I feel like, it's not a bad idea.
But then there might have been copyright infringement because Carver Edlin was already writing Supernatural.
Yeah, we haven't gotten to that episode yet, but yeah, that could be a problem. But like, you could rename it.
True.
Might need to pick a different name. but like the idea of the book is still good.
True. Yes, 100%.
Sam's a little distracted by this couple that is being very disgustingly in love with one another. I don't like really extreme public displays of affection. I think if you want to kiss in public or hold hands, that's fine. But like, read the room.
Exactly.
If you're in like a really serious scenario, or like something like dark is happening, or like, I don't know, like your grandma is there, like maybe just like don't be all handsy and all over each other. Or even just like if you're in a restaurant, like go home. Like there is just, I don't know, read the room and like behave accordingly.
Exactly. It's not that hard to wait. Like, you just pay the money and then go home.
This couple is all over each other in public. Like, it's really quite gross. It's distracting Sam. Like, Sam's like taking note of it. He's like grossed out. Candace said she was pushed, and then she says more like she tripped while she was trying to escape, and the ghost helped her up and begged that she didn't tell its mom. And Sam's like, yeah, that's weird.
Just a little.
Dean's then reading a newspaper, and on the front page we can see that George Newman has won the lottery. And George Newman is the set decorator on 320 out of 327 episodes. Aside from the pilot, I don't know which other 6 episodes he's not set decorator on, but that's also like a real photo of him in the paper.
That's so funny.
I love when they do little things like that to like a little nod to like the behind the scenes people.
Yeah, it's a great way to honor them.
Yeah. And Sam and Dean are then walking on this boardwalk that is in this town, which I think is Squamish, BC, when they come across a local sheriff who's dealing with a very irate man who's screaming about Bigfoot. And that's Sam and Dean's kind of thing. Like, before they were like, this town is weird, but like, what is going on? But like, it doesn't really seem like that's a ghostly kind of thing like we're usually dealing with. But they're like, somebody screaming about Bigfoot is weird. So they pull the FBI badges. And then after they're like done with this conversation, they both agree Bigfoot is absolutely a hoax. So in the Supernatural universe, Bigfoot does not exist. We're never gonna like come across Bigfoot. But they're like, something is weird in this town. And then they see this giant footprint, an impression of a Bigfoot.
Literal.
And they're like, okay. So they just follow it and they keep walking and they find a crime scene. It looks like a bear came through a liquor store, and after a as soon as I typed that, I remembered why that looked like a bear came through a liquor store. I was like, right, because that's exactly what fucking happened. The store's been cleared of amaretto, Irish cream, and the entire porno rack. And there's a chunk of fur caught in the rack. Are you fond of either amaretto or Irish cream?
I do like both, yes. I do get girl drink drunk, as Dean puts it.
I'm not very a fan of either, to be really honest. But I'm also like not a coffee person. And like Irish cream is like usually used in like coffee flavored drinks. And I'm not a big, I'll have an iced coffee every once in a while, but I'm not like a coffee drinker. I don't really like coffee liqueur. But I was just wondering if you were familiar with those alcohols. But so they go outside and they both like sit down and are trying to like absorb and like come up with what all these things together mean, and neither of them can come up with an explanation, but they're very cute looking while they try and figure. It's funny watching them. Adorable. They look so just like, I don't know, like confused, and like they don't really know what to do when like they don't have any ideas. Like, but a good thing that they're sitting there because they get a hint. A little girl rides by on her bike, and a busty Asian's Beauty magazine falls out of her bike, and they follow her, and she drops a box of magazines and alcohol outside the door of the liquor store with an apology note. And Sam and Dean are like, yeah, that's a small child. So they follow her home. She's home alone, and she's like maybe 5 or 6 years old. She's not very old. I wouldn't say she's like more than like 7.
Yeah, she looks really young.
She looks quite young. And her name's Audrey, and she says her teddy bear is sick. And Sam and Dean are like, okay, great, we're teddy bear doctors now. And they follow this girl up to her room, find her giant teddy bear. Teddy bear doctor is actually a real job. Stuffed animal stores are a gift to humanity, but also like our local hospice used to put on a day where you brought your teddy bear in and they give you Smarties as medicine and like give your bear a little popsicle stick splint, and there were snacks and games, and it was really fun.
That's cute.
I don't remember what the deal was with the splints and the medicine, aside from that this was a thing that happened like at the local hospital, but like
I know Build-A-Bear used to do, I don't know if they still do it because I haven't done it in a while, but if you had a bear and say like your dog got to it and like tore it up, they had a hospital where you could send it to, and they would send you a letter telling you how your bear was doing, and then they would send you your bear back after he was done having his time in the hospital getting his surgery.
So cute.
Yeah, so there are teddy bear doctors.
So cute. There's some people on TikTok that restore stuffed animals, and like usually it's just like like stuffed animals like that people have had since they were kids that are now adults, like they've just been worn from time, but like occasionally they'll do ones that like their stuffed animals have like survived a fire or like things like that.
I've seen those ones, yeah.
And like it's just so nice.
It's cute.
But anyway, we find out that Audrey wished at the wishing well that her bear would become real and big. And it did.
He got very big. Very
big and very real. The bear is having an existential crisis about existing in a world where terrible things happen. And, living to go to Audrey's tea parties. I can't imagine that's super exciting. But, Audrey seems like a great kid. She seems like a really interesting kid. I feel like if any kids' tea parties were going to be happening, I would want to be invited to Audrey's, but the bear's not thrilled. Sam and Dean are like, we're just going to the store, and then they have this conversation where they're like whispering back and forth, and Sam's like, are we gonna kill this girl's teddy bear? And Dean's like, what if that doesn't work? And they're like, well, maybe we should light it on fire. And they're like, well, what if that doesn't work? And then we have a like very angry, fiery giant bear. And they're like, okay. And Sam's like, yeah, that's not worth it. And also like it's not even really the problem, because like it's like one thing in this town where a lot of weird things are happening. Like it doesn't explain the gym incident, like other things are going on. And they're like, Audrey, where'd your parents go? And she's like, my mom wished to be in Bali, so I think they're in Bali. And like who knows how long she's been living by herself. So she agrees to go stay with their neighbor, and they're gonna go check out the wishing well. We see a kid at the well make a wish, and we're gonna get to him in a minute because there's a lot to say about him. But Dean says that there's only one way to find out if this works, and he chucks a coin in there, which is so dumb, but the fanfic potential is high. I've read some excellent fanfics where things that Dean wishes for go horribly wrong. A delivery dude comes in with a foot-long Italian with jalapeno, exactly what Dean wanted. I think this is a dumb order considering Dean doesn't actually like spicy things that much, but
Yeah.
it's what he really wanted in the moment. But the gross couple is still there, and they're like, add them to the list. Like, this girl and this guy are clearly like not people who would usually be dating, which I think is a little bit like 2008. Like,
Yeah.
it's a little presumptive to be like, oh, like a really hot girl wouldn't be with a guy that's not also super hot. Like, they could never have anything in common. Like, you know, there's more to life and there's more to like attraction than like 2008 standards of what's attractive.
Exactly. I hate that stereotype. Like I've seen couples where it's like the guy who's always in the gym and like obviously the girl he dates is a cute blonde, buff bunny, but like no, he'll date the plus size girl. Like he'll marry someone who's not the conventionally beautiful woman.
Yeah, and like the model will date the geeky guy. Like there's other things going on in everyone's lives than like how they look. Like the hot girl has other things she's interested in, and the buff gym guy doesn't want to be at the gym 24/7. He has a personality.
Exactly.
Like so like, I think like that's really dumb. But like they add this couple because the girl's really hot and the guy's not, and they also add the lottery guy to the list of like the people who have weirdly gotten what they want. And Sam's like, usually things like this come with a very serious, possibly deadly catch. Like, I mean, we've seen this before with like witches or like demon deals, like usually if you get something that's really good, like you pay a pretty heavy price for it. And it doesn't seem like anybody's paid said price, which is not good because that means that the price is coming.
Yep.
The owner comes over and is very understandably annoyed that Dean's eating a sandwich that he bought from somewhere else, even though he didn't buy it. And they're like, oh, well, we wouldn't want to eat anything here because we're actually the health department and we're shutting this restaurant down. Dean's cleaning up the coins and he asks if Sam wants to make a wish because, he already threw a coin in there. And Sam's like, no, because it wouldn't be real. And Dean could not be less sensitive in the moment with what he says. It's unintentional, but it's so mean. He really pushes that, like, what Sam might want is to wish himself back before he got back into hunting, like his career as a lawyer and a nice car and a picket fence. And he doesn't say Jess, but like clearly that's what that implies. Like,
yeah.
And Sam says it's too late for that. He's not that guy, and he wouldn't wish for that anyways. He would wish for Lilith dead. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. Because I'm going to make that exceptionally sad, but I want to get through this scene. Dean sees an old coin and it won't come off the bottom, so they go grab a crowbar and they use it as a chisel, and the head of the hammer that they hit this thing with like breaks off. It's not coming off. Sam makes a tracing. He's got an idea, so he leaves Dean to go investigate the coin. We get the little like supernaturally Dean's dirty organ music into the next scene, which we usually get when like something really funny's happened and like nothing funny is happening. But we're going to stop to talk about Jared in this episode. Trigger warning for gross eating, food poisoning, etc. And I got my info on this like from a video of Jensen telling the story at HonCon 2017 with Jared. But like, this is a pretty famous story in the Supernatural fandom. Jensen and Jared were living together during season 4 filming. And so Jensen lived in the basement and Jared had the upstairs. It was like Jared's house, and like Jensen was just supposed to like stay there for a while, and he ended up living there for like the entire season. But they went out one night and they had all like a few drinks, and Jensen was like, I'm going to bed. Jared was like gonna go have a snack, and Jensen gets up the next morning and they had ribs that like Tom Welling had made for them, and they were marinating in the fridge and they were gonna cook them like that night for dinner. But Jensen gets up and the ribs aren't in the fridge, and Jared ate them raw while he was really drunk. Jensen is rightfully nauseated at the thought. I'm really sensitive to textures, and the idea of eating raw ribs is just horrifying.
It's horrifying. Yeah, no.
So Jared's like dying while they're filming these scenes at the restaurant. And so they filmed everything with Jensen with a double. And then at the end of the day, like Jared was like been throwing up all day, and like they just like pumped him full of B12 electrolytes. And then at the like mid-afternoon, like they like brought him in to do his coverage. What a nightmare. I can't believe you can have food poisoning that badly and like you still like they're just like, yeah, you have to keep working though. Like they're on such a tight schedule.
Yeah, no, that's insane. When I remember seeing the video for that story, and I was just like, first off, how do you get drunk enough to just go ahead and consume raw meat? But I mean, he's a boy, so boys do a lot of stupid
I
things.
mean, people do dumb things when they're drunk and like don't know where they are, don't know where they've been. But like, oh man, it's gotta be. He did say it was like dark and like the ribs looked dark because they were like marinating. So like he couldn't really tell that they weren't cooked. But yeah, that seems horrifying to me. I cannot imagine. And
Yeah,
he definitely didn't recommend raw ribs. Anyways, Sam goes back to the women's health center. Oh yeah, by the way, the gym that like the creepy kid was in was also like a women's only like gym. So like it was like there aren't supposed to be guys there at all. Anyway, Sam like appears in the bathroom behind this woman, but he grabs this naked teen out of the women's showers and he just goes, "Don't worry, ma'am, I'm with the health department," which I think is like that's a Dean thing to do. But I'm really glad. I'm really glad for Sam. Naked teen guy is Callum Worthy. He'd already been in quite a few things before this, but after this, he went on to be like a Disney teen. He was the main role in Austin Alley. He was also in like Good Luck Charlie and Jesse and Some Assembly Required, Bizarre Bark, which is I think Bizarre Bark's the one that Olivia Rodrigo was in.
I think so.
Yeah, I said that really. I felt really confident about that until it was in front of me.
I've only seen like 1 or 2 episodes of Bizarre Bark. I watched Austin and Alley. I liked him in that.
Yeah, I also watched Austin and Alley. Bizarre Bark was a little after my time.
I didn't remember him in Good Luck Charlie. So
I think it was only in like 1 episode.
Oh, that might be it then.
Yeah, it was Bizarre Bark that Olivia Rodrigo was in. Like that's where she came up.
Okay.
In that was so like OG Disney thing that she was really known for. She was probably in some other stuff before that, but like that was her like big like main role. He was also in like some of the Disney Channel movies. He was also in The Act as Nick Godejohn, which he was really great in. The Act is like a fictionalized docudrama about Gypsy Rose Blanchard. He's still acting in 2023. He is like
that's right. He was the boyfriend.
Yeah, he was the boyfriend that killed the mom, like that actually like did the murder. And he was really great in it.
He was. It was really convincing.
Yeah, it's actually really good. Like if like it's I'm not gonna say it's like 100% accurate, but like it definitely gets the main story points across of that case. And he was very good.
Yeah.
Sam's really, really not okay with the violation of privacy that he's interrupting. He's very disappointed that anybody would wish for this, even like a dumb teenager. The problem is that Sam doesn't do anything about this. Does Sam tell anybody?
Nope.
No. Dean's walking and he sees a bunch of kids running for their lives. They're being chased by the kids that we saw at the wishing well the first time we saw the wishing well. Then we're back at the motel room where Dean ironically has food poisoning from the wishing well sandwich.
Karma.
Jared's very real food poisoning was not, and now Jensen has to pretend to have food poisoning. I mean, they shoot out of order, but I hope that they shot this after, so like the inspiration was fresh. But he has gotten some information. The coin's Babylonian and cursed and has a Babylonian god of primordial chaos on it. Adding the coin to the well like turns it on, and then the wishes all go crazy and like super bad things have happened to people in the past. Like entire towns have been wiped off the map. The only way to stop it is to get the very first person, the person who originally threw the coin in the well, to remove it. Then we have a scene where the bear attempts to die by suicide via shotgun to the face, which unfortunately does not kill him, which means it's a really good thing that Sam and Dean didn't attempt to kill him and to set him on fire, because like that like nightmare scenario of like the giant stuffed bear being like pissed and on fire, very real possibility, because this bear cannot fucking die.
I just remember watching this episode for the first time and seeing the bear shoot himself, and I texted my cousin because she was the one who made me watch the show, and I was like, are you kidding me? You couldn't warn me that there was a bear with a shotgun. I was like, what is this show?
Yeah, I would say it's definitely on like the top of like the like crazy things, but like it's not important to the episode. Like
no,
it's just a little bit of flavor text between scenes.
A little flavor.
But like it is like kind of buck wild.
Yes.
Then we're back with at the motel. Dean is sleeping off his food poisoning and he's having a hell dream. And Sam is like done. He's calling bullshit on Dean's whole thing. As Sam says, like they're together 24/7. He knows Dean's lying about how he wants to know the truth. And Dean says, be careful what you wish for. And I don't want to talk about it. I want to get back to the case. Sam's like, okay, well, we know that these people definitely wished in the well in the last 2 weeks, but there's no way to tell like who the first person was. And Dean's like, odd couple announced their engagement a month ago. So it's got to be them. So Wes and Hope are the couple. They're at home and Hope is very in love with Wes to the point it's off-putting even to Wes.
Yeah.
He's starting to have some like off-putting vibes like about how in love she is with him. Sam and Dean are now pretending to be florists. And then they make a joke, like a dumb joke about all the covers they've had this week of like health department, florists, FBI, and on Thursday they're Teddy Bear Doctors. Not even accounting for Sam's authorship that he was claiming. Like that didn't even make the joke. They've been so many people this episode. That was almost a segment on this podcast, like keeping track of what aliases they had and when. But like honestly, it's so boring because in the later seasons they're almost always the FBI that like I was like, no, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
But this one was a good variety. Like we had a lot in this one episode and they were all vastly different.
Yeah, the florist one was very, very new, very different.
Yeah, I don't think they've ever pretended to be florists or teddy bear doctors before. Those are new fake careers. They confront Wes, who inherited a bunch of coins from his grandfather, and Hope is definitely like a result of the coin. It's very uncomfortable. This is another situation where read the room because Hope and Wes are at home, but like Sam and Dean are in their living room, and she is licking his face. It's deeply uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's deeply uncomfortable.
Mm-mm.
And then while Wes starts to tell the story about the wishing well coin situation, we're with Hope in the kitchen and she can overhear this. So like she is hearing the conversation, which is I think really interesting. Like a really interesting choice. And Dean's like, if you don't take this back, like this wish back, something bad is gonna happen. And Sam yes ands him so hard. He's like, something bad like us. And then Dean's like, okay. And he holds Wes at gunpoint. Dean then hits the invisible kid with his car, but he doesn't seem seriously injured, even though like the way that the car like rolled, it definitely seems like he got fully run over, but then like he's standing up and he seems like injured but fine. I'm not wishing death on this teenager, but like again, this teenager is a fucking creep.
Yeah.
Okay, then there's a really interesting argument because Wes says that Sam and Dean have it easy because they have pretty privilege, and they resoundingly deny that because they have some tough shit going on. On this very specific argument, I'm Team Wes.
They
Sam
do have
and
pretty
Dean,
privilege.
They have it very hard, harder than most people. But Wes is not talking about your lives are easy. He's talking about very specifically the ability to find companionship from someone that is attracted to them.
Mm-hmm.
And in that respect, Sam and Dean have never had to work. They do not think about it. They just need to exist. And we've seen ample proof of that. Like they are just existing in a public space and women are taking notice of them.
Mm-hmm.
And like Wes is very, very specifically talking about that, about the ability to find companionship and like a romantic partner. Wes isn't even like a bad looking guy. I feel like we should mention that. Like he's an okay looking dude. He could dress a little bit better, I feel like, to like accentuate what he does have going for him. He does dress a little bit like, you know, like a shy 12-year-old, but like
yeah,
for a man who's probably nearing his 40s, but like he seems like he's doing reasonably okay. Like he's not like super like unattractive. And like I don't know, I get like dating apps weren't all that they are now, but like they still exist in 2008. I feel like Wes could find love if he wanted to, and he's just like not. It doesn't seem like he's taking a lot of initiative, but like you know, I feel bad for him. But I feel like I only feel bad for him because of how the episode ends. Like I feel like if the episode ended any differently, I wouldn't feel bad for him because like he doesn't want to undo this wish. Like they're saying like this is causing problems, that it's going to cause problems, but he's not into it. But like I guess I don't blame him. Anyway, they're driving, and the kids that Dean saw running earlier are now locked in a Ford Explorer, and The kid chasing them flips the car over and screams "Kneel before Todd," which is a reference to Superman's General Zod. He screams "Kneel before Zod" all the time.
Yep.
I've had a note about this for basically the entirety of this podcast to talk about Todd. So let's talk about Todd. Trigger warning for real life murder. IRL, Todd's name is Ryan Grantham. His most recent role before all of this happened was actually on Riverdale. So like most of the articles about this mention like a Riverdale actor. He played Jeffrey on Riverdale, a teenager out joyriding with no license who commits a hit and run vehicular manslaughter of Fred Andrews back when they had to write like the late Luke Perry off the show when he unexpectedly died in 2019. They had his character killed off in like a hit and run by a teenage driver, and like that was Ryan Grantham. Ryan Grantham was also in a bunch of other stuff. He was in a very excellent miniseries on the AIDS crisis called Unspeakable. He's also in iZombie, Diary of a Wimpy Kid. He actually had another role on Supernatural back like in season 11. After this, but like most people know him for this episode. But yeah, Ryan has some problems. On March 31st, 2020, back in if you remember back then, that was the very beginning of the pandemic, like weeks into the pandemic.
The fun times.
64-year-old Barbara Waite was playing piano in the family home with her son, Ryan, and he was 21 years old at the time, and he shot her in the back of the head with a handgun, killing her. Ryan recorded a video of himself confessing to murdering his mother, and he was also planning to assassinate Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, and he was also considering carrying out a mass shooting at a local university, and he claimed that he killed his mother to spare her from having to deal with the aftermath of him carrying out those plans. He did start to drive east towards one of the intended targets of like a potential mass shooting, but then he turned around and turned himself into the police. He was charged with first-degree murder and ended up pleading guilty to second-degree murder, and he was sentenced in 2022 to life in prison with the possibility of parole in 14 years. So he could potentially be out in 2036. But he's been undergoing like some like pretty intensive like mental health treatment while he's been like awaiting trial and while he was on trial. And I'm assuming since he's been sentenced, he's been continuing with that, I would assume. There's been hundreds of actors on Supernatural over the years. Like if you think about how many people are in each episode times 300 like episodes, there's just like a lot of actors. So like statistically having one of them be a murderer isn't that unlikely. But it is still like this really cute little kid in this episode that just grows up to like be this like very disturbed individual who like did a horrible thing.
I was very shocked when I saw it in the news. I was like, that little kid did that? Like I couldn't correlate in my head that he wasn't that little kid anymore, that he was like an adult now. But even still, I was like, he really turned into something like that and shot his mom. And
obviously
like, wow.
I had seen him in Riverdale because I'm still caught up in Riverdale. Riverdale's gonna be over by the time this comes out, but like as of recording, there's still 2 episodes left before the series ends. So I had seen him in that role as like a adult. Like this was like it was pretty close. Like that was 2019 and this was early 2020. Like but yeah, he just looked like a normal guy. I mean, every murderer looks like a normal guy. Or woman. Like every murderer looks like a normal person until they're murdering someone.
I mean, Ted Bundy had fans who were sitting in the courthouse while he was being tried for murder. So
and like lots of like everybody always says like, oh, like this person looked normal. Like I just like obviously like being a child star is like not good for your mental health. Just like generally existing isn't super good for your mental health. Like people like I don't know specifically what this guy has going on. None of the articles give a specific diagnosis of like what mental health issues he has going on. Just like he has some pretty severe mental health issues. I feel like that's pretty obvious given the plans that he had, but like and like it's not our place to know that, but like I don't know, it's just like seems like such a shock that it's this like person that we know as this cute little kid.
And not that I'm on his side or anything, but good for him for like I guess having a wake up moment and just like driving himself to go turn himself in.
I don't know what would possibly have triggered like that, but like it could have been so much worse. Like obviously it's very very sad that like he did kill his mother, but like he could have done so much damage if he had gone to like I think there was like university and then somewhere other place that he was thinking about going to carry out a mass shooting. And he did have directions to like the Prime Minister's residence here in Ottawa where I live. But yeah, it's just like that's just like not something that like a normal person would do. But like thank God he didn't try to do either of those things because they would have been bad. Like for a lot of people. But yeah, let's move on. Let's go back to the episode. We don't want to talk about real life stuff. Jean gets out of the car to go handle the children. And Sam just like slides over to take the car and Wes to the wishing well. Which I don't know, it took a really long time to wonder that the car had a bench seat in the front. But like the like Sam would not be able to just do that if they didn't have a bench seat in the front. Like
yeah.
It's like one of baby's like more convenient features for them because like they spend so much time in the car that they have the double bench seat. Mm-hmm. Anyway, Todd was being bullied by these kids. And Audrey, the teddy bear girl, told him about the well, so he wished to be like super strong. Dean tries to Uncle Ben him, like the great power comes great responsibility. And Todd just like smashes him in the face and he goes flying. Sam's walking Wes into the restaurant and lightning just blasts him out of the sky. His shoes fly off, which are not the shoes that Sam was wearing before this moment, and it's not the shoes he was wearing after this moment. He's wearing boots. But in the moment that the lightning hits and the shoes go flying, Sam's wearing shoes, and they are the shoes that Sam wore in Bad Day at Black Rock when he famously lost a shoe down the drain.
Oh.
They're the stunt shoes, I guess.
Guess so.
But Sam's dead. Oh. It's Sam's
Poor
second
Sam.
time being dead. It's his second death. It's the least recognized Winchester death of all time, and luckily it's brief. Hope wished for Sam to die, which is pretty fucking metal, being really honest. Dean hits Todd back. Like he's like, okay, this isn't working. Like, what if I just smash this kid in the face and knock him out? It hurts him to hit him. Wes is horrified that Hope just killed a dude. And Hope's like, I love you more than anything. And like, that means everything. Like, it means herself and like her life and other people's lives. Like, and like Wes promises like everything's gonna be fine. And he pulls the coin. So Todd stops choking Dean, which I was suddenly very uncomfortable with Todd choking Dean. Because again, that dude grew up to be a killer. Yeah. It just added a weird context to the way that he was choking Dean out. That was probably so fun to film. Like, you know, like Jensen probably had a good time, like having this little kid pretend to choke him. Like that was probably a fun scene to do. And all I could think about was that dude murdered someone.
Yeah. Like, did it start there? Did the thoughts begin there?
I doubt it. Like it was probably just like, you know, like when you like play wrestling with your family, but like it's just all I could think about.
Yeah.
Sam wakes up, which is good. I always like when Sam's no longer dead. Kind of my favorite thing. Jean keeps playing along that Todd's like strong for while the kids like climb out of the car and like run off. And Hope no longer recognizes Wes at all. She's really confused and like she just kind of like leaves, and Sam like watches Hope leave. I forgot in my brain I had allowed this to be very, very romantic, and that was putting too much on Supernatural. I don't know why my brain gave Supernatural the benefit of the doubt, but like in my brain, Hope didn't remember the last 4 weeks, but like they introduced themselves to each other and like were like kind of friendly about it. Like she like didn't like seem disinterested. But that's not at all what happens. I don't know where that delusion came from. But it's what I thought had happened. But no, she just like doesn't know him at all, and she like leaves. Sam watches her leave, and then he takes the coin from Wes, and I was like, keep that in your back pocket, fic writers, if you ever wanted to do like a canon divergent moment where it's like shit got really fucked up. Sam's got this coin. Then we get another newspaper, and George Newman's lottery ticket was fake. The word counterfeit is spelled wrong on the newspaper, which is out of character for the set decorating George Newman. Audrey's parents are back, horrifically sunburnt. I just had a really bad sunburn, so I really feel for them.
Oh, I hate getting sunburnt.
Audrey's bear has a massive hole in its head, but it's back to normal size and inanimate again, so I'm sure her mom will try and fix it for her. And Sam has allegedly melted the coin down, and they're going to leave this town. Dean then stops Sam and admits that, he's been lying about Hal, and he remembers everything, and Sam wants to know what happened. And Dean says no, but he's not going to lie, but he's also like not going to talk about it. He's like, sharing's not going to change it. It's not going to help him. It's like the things that he saw, there are aren't words to describe, and it's not going to make it better, and he's just got to live with it forever. Oh, I forgot to mention, I did want to get back there, like when Hope leaves and Sam is standing out, like watching her go, we like go to this wide shot where Sam's standing in the corner, he watches Hope, and then he watches Wes walk away with this wide shot, and there's just something with Sam standing still on a street, like 10 feet away from the car, but like people are like walking by him existing, like felt very, I don't know, I felt something. And then there's another really great wide shot of Sam and Dean on the pier where like after Dean says like you just gotta live with it and like they're not gonna talk about it like zooms up to this like wide shot on the pier where they both just start walking in the same direction, but they're standing like pretty far apart for the two of them and like not talking while they walk. Like they're very clearly like actively not talking, even though there's clearly things both of them would like say to the other one. And I just thought that was like a really great shot.
Yeah, it places a lot of thoughts in your head.
Yeah. And just like very like it just like really gives you a moment to sit with like the emotional like heaviness of what Dean's saying. But that is how the episode ends. It ends on that shot. Frances, who would you like to nominate as this week's most valuable person?
I mean, there was so many characters to choose from. I mean, we could choose, the guy who tossed the coin to get the girl of his dreams, or we could get the teddy bear who couldn't stand to live life. Actually, I don't know. I think
it's a tough one. I had a hard time picking this week as well.
Yeah. I mean, there wasn't really it wasn't like a monster that they had to like defeat. There wasn't like a lot of research that they had to do for it.
All the research happened like super behind the scenes. Like,
yeah. So like, I don't know. It's kind of tough to pick one, I guess. My go-to would always just be Dean, just because it's Dean.
You know what? That's valid. I'll allow that. I also had a really hard time picking this week. Like this episode did not lend itself to an MVP very well at all. I ended up going with Wes. He did create the problem.
He did.
He drove the plot from start. He obviously didn't know that was going to happen, any of that. Like he knew the coin granted wishes, and he kind of thought that was a story. And then he's like, well, I don't have anything better to do, so I'm just going to try it. There's no way he could have done some research clearly because Dean found the information, but like how, like you can't even if you read that, like how are you going to predict that that's real?
Yeah.
And then like the wishes are going to go that badly. But also the thing about Wes is like he finished the case for them, not a Winchester in sight, and both of them would be dead otherwise. Like there's not many people who can say that they saved both Winchesters on the same day, but Wes could if he had any idea how significant an accomplishment that was. He has no way of knowing how big of a deal that is, but like there aren't many people that could say that.
It's true.
So I'm going to give it to Wes.
I think he deserves it.
Yeah. I mean, again, like Sam and Dean were here. They were doing stuff, but like...
Ultimately, he saved the day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Our next segment is the Bechdel test. Do we have two named women in this episode? We had Audrey. We had Hope. Hope has a first, middle, and last name, and Audrey had a first and last name as well. Her last name was Elmer. It's so rare that both the female characters have first and last names.
I know that never happened.
Unfortunately, they didn't talk to one another, so this episode still doesn't pass the Bechdel test. But like,
well.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
One of these days that we're gonna get good Bechdel tests.
I mean, it was just a filler episode. We don't expect much,
Last week's episode barely passed the Bechdel test. It was the first one in since several episodes from the end of season 3. Like we were on a real streak. We're not doing well this season.
Jeez.
Our next segment is it's mythology, and Meredith's not here, so I had to handle this. And I'm no Meredith, so this is gonna be short, it's gonna be sweet, and it's gonna be information I found from a quick internet search. So, the possibility that this is incorrect or not accurate representation of what I read, not impossible. We had a Babylonian coin with the god of chaos on it. And I was really hoping Meredith was going to know all about it. But Tiamat is a god of chaos. She's the goddess of the primordial sea, and she's associated with the form of a dragon. So that all tracks with what happened in the episode. There was a serpent on the coin. Mm-hmm. So that's all okay. She's kind of like the Mesopotamian Gaia, she's like the mother of the first generation of like the big main gods in Babylonian Mesopotamian mythology. This god Marduk, who I think was like her like grandchild or great grandchild, like from her, like descended from her like a couple of generations, challenged her to a duel, beat her, and then like split her in half and used her body to create Earth.
Interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, I recommend Googling. It was hard to find websites that were like very like concise and also like weren't behind a paywall, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's not like Greek mythology where there are like 8,000 websites about everything. I guess Mesopotamian mythology is not quite as popular.
It's very niche, apparently.
Apparently a little bit more niche. I might ask Meredith to to tell us more information and like stick it in here because I feel like that was really lame. Please come back.
We can't survive without Meredith.
Francis, do you have a low light and a highlight for this episode?
My low light is definitely all the making out that Hope and Wes were doing throughout the whole episode.
Very uncomfortable.
I guess just Hope in general because of how she was acting. And then my highlight is definitely the Teddy Bear Doctors. I love that that whole, just anything the teddy bear was doing, I think was my favorite because it always lifts me up when I'm in a bad mood. So
honestly, yeah, great point. My low light, my instinct was to say Todd, but I also realized in saying that like I kind of want my highlights and lowlights to be things that the show could have done differently, and there's no way that they could have predicted that Ryan Grantham would grow up to have a severe mental health crisis.
Yeah.
So instead, I picked Naked Teen. Sam left this town without telling anybody about this blossoming sex offender. Yes, teens are dumb and horny, and this kid made a wish, but like clearly this kid had a desire to spy on naked women in a space that is supposed to be safe for them. Like the bathroom of a women's only health facility, you shouldn't have to worry about creepy teenagers hiding in the bathrooms. And Sam doesn't tell anybody about this kid. Like this kid's just out here. And like, yes, he's no longer going to be invisible, but that doesn't mean he's not still going to be fucking creepy and a sex offender.
Yeah.
I just feel like we maybe should have done something about that.
Even if he just like dropped a line, even like told Audrey like, hey, it was this kid that was peeping. You want to do something about it?
Let's not put it on a 6-year-old, but
not Audrey, sorry. What was her name? The one he was peeping on.
Candace.
There we go.
Yeah, because clearly he knew Candace. Like he knew her. He called her Mrs. Armstrong. So obviously, so we had Candace Armstrong as well. She also had a first and last name.
Yeah.
But yeah, like clearly, like Sam just should have told somebody in this town.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That this kid was here. And that he was creepy towards women. Because like he's not like he's like 12. He's like a teenager. Like he is going to become an adult, and clearly like something's not okay with him. My highlight, this might be the weirdest highlight I've ever fucking had. Hear me out. Sam dying is my highlight. I think it's very funny, but I also spent way too long thinking about, because all the wishes go wrong, and Hope wished for Sam to die. And so I was just thinking about like the ways that this wish could go wrong for Hope. And aside from like the fact that it convinced Wes to undo the wishes, the thing I landed on was the potential for zombie Sam to exist.
Oh.
Because like what else could go wrong about wishing someone dead?
Yeah.
Either a bunch of other people die, which seems unlikely in a lightning related death incident, or like this person somehow fails to be really dead. And I just think that like zombie Sam would have been great.
Zombie Sam.
And I think that anytime that I can say that Sam dying is funny, we should just all appreciate it, because I'm usually much more sensitive about Sam and his, alive status. Call CPS. Times an adult should be calling CPS. Was home alone for way too long.
Yes.
Aside from that, I don't think CPS is the right person to call on the naked kid.
No, that's more the cops.
You can't really call CPS on like other schoolyard bullies, but like somebody should probably be checking on Todd. Otherwise, I think mostly just like Audrey. Like nobody was fucking checking on Audrey. How long was she home alone for? We don't know.
Well, for as long as after Wes made the wish,
a day or two.
Yeah, at least a couple of days.
It could have been up to it's somewhere between 2 weeks and a month.
Because this teddy bear had a long enough time to be like, okay, I'm alive now and we're having tea parties and probably liking life at the beginning, and then all of a sudden be like, this is life. This is it.
It's
So
at least gonna be like a couple of days because
yeah.
because Audrey's like there was time for the bear to have an existential crisis and rob the liquor store, and also time for Audrey and Todd to talk because Audrey told Todd about the wishing well.
Yep.
And he was already there after like on the same day that Sam and Dean came into town. So like it's at least been a couple of days
At the very least.
that Audrey's been home alone. And again, she's like not old enough to care for herself.
Nope.
Anyway, a firing squad, people who didn't perform their job duties. The police were not around much in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
And in particular, the one sheriff that we saw did not investigate the liquor store bear Bigfoot incident, and therefore did not find Audrey, so did not locate the fact that there was a young child with no caretaker, let alone the giant teddy bear that committed said robbery. Otherwise, I don't think there was a lot for the police to do. I don't think there's anything we could have really expected the like women's health facility to do that they weren't already doing. I don't think there was much that we could have expected the restaurant owner to do. Like, I think it's just kind of like that one police officer probably should have investigated.
Yeah, definitely.
Because yes, the liquor store was trash, but also like very specific things were missing. And like bears typically don't actually care about porn magazines.
No, they don't.
Specifically. Like there's other things that weren't stolen, but like all the porn magazines were stolen. And like that just seems suspicious. I'm also a little confused because like the store does seem to only sell liquor and like porn magazines. And like we have specific liquor stores here in Canada because like until recently you could only buy alcohol at liquor or beer stores. Like now it's in some grocery stores, and like since the pandemic, like restaurants sell like takeout alcohol, but like you couldn't buy alcohol at like most grocery stores or anything like that. So like it's weird. But like I've been in the liquor store and like they typically don't have like a porn rack in the store. Like this is usually two different stores.
Yeah.
Not that I guess I've been in many stores that have a porn specific rack either.
I know, I'm trying to think. I don't think we do either, because like the liquor stores that I've been into, like obviously they'll sell like liquor and stuff, but they also have like snacks and stuff. It's more of like a gas station kind of store, but like with more liquor.
Yeah.
But you also don't see kids in there, but like I think they keep it hidden just because you never know. Like people do bring their kids in with them as they're like shopping. So like
yeah,
know, it's weird.
Here things are weird. Like you can bring your kids into the liquor store, but they can't touch anything, or else they can't sell to you.
Yeah.
They can be there. They just can't touch anything. Anyway, let's move on to the mental health check. I'm not a psychologist. This segment is based purely on my own opinions. We can remind if you're struggling with anything at all, please reach out for help. This week was a big red flag regarding mental health. We're going to start with Sam, and we're not going to talk about the bear. The bear has fucking problems. We're not going to talk about them. He's a one episode character. He doesn't particularly matter. Sorry. I know it's like a horrible thing to say about a bear who's like literally driven to suicide. But we're not going to talk about the suicidal anthropomorphic bear. We don't have the time.
I was gonna say it's gonna take a whole nother hour for that at least.
And it's just not worth it for us to discuss it. Like we saw the episode, things are bad.
We can do a discussion episode about it later.
Let's talk about Sam. Sam is back on the fucking revenge train. We saw this in the first 2 seasons. It was not a good time. It led to some very risky behaviors from Sam in the first season, especially. And this specific episode is really interesting because, like, not only would Sam not go back and undo everything, which theoretically would bring Jess back, which it's like, you know, if you're using that wish, the maximum effect of like wishing that the last 4 years hasn't happened, like that would bring Jess back ideally.
Yeah, definitely.
We would hope. But Sam's vengeance mission against Lilith is for Dean, who is right here alive next to Sam while this conversation's happening. Like Sam's having this conversation with Dean. Sam's so blinded by this anger and this need for revenge that it doesn't matter that Dean's alive. And like it's more important to Sam to avenge Dean than to get back someone that he's lost, like Jess, or even someone else like their dad or Ash or anyone else like that's died. But like it just seems like to me, the fact that like Sam wants vengeance for someone who's no longer dead, like of course it doesn't undo the like extreme like grief and that Sam suffered when Dean died. Like the fact that Dean is no longer dead doesn't undo the 4 months that Sam like suffered while Dean was dead. But like he's not dead anymore. He could set this aside and never think about Lilith again. but he can't, to the exclusion of like, and he can't even think of a good thing to wish for himself. Like even if we say Sam wouldn't want that, like wouldn't want Jess back, wouldn't want to undo this time, like he would want something, he can't even think of something good for himself because the most important thing is killing Lilith. And that is the kind of vengeance that we saw with Sam with Yellow Eyes, and it was really bad. Like Sam was willing to get himself killed to get that vengeance for like with Yellow Eyes, so it's not a good sign.
Which I can understand wanting to do that, and I can see how he gets to that point every time where it's like, this creature needs to die because they, brought harm against my family. But also it's like, he shouldn't be okay with like the extent that he has to go for it.
Yeah, and like I think the difference with Yellow Eyes is like, I mean, Sam wasn't that invested in Yellow Eyes when it was just Mary that was dead, even though Mary was like, because Mary wasn't important to him specifically.
Yeah.
But like once Jess died, then like Mary and Jess like became so conflated, I think, in everyone's minds, like, but especially Sam's, because like Sam had this like history of like knowing he should feel this way, and then like now he actually does feel that way, like, but like they were dead. Like that was the thing, is like he was avenging them because they were gone, whereas he was avenging Lilith, and then Dean stopped being dead and he's still on the vengeance for Lilith. Like Dean's no longer dead. There shouldn't, like,
yeah,
it hasn't had any of like that fact has not had any effect on Sam's need for vengeance, and like that is scary. That's
he's determined.
Yeah, there's just something about him saying it to Dean, like, who's like not dead. And you can tell Dean wants to say that, but he's like he can't. Like, but yeah, let's talk about Dean. Obviously not doing well. The hell trauma. There's nightmares and very intensive drinking. Clearly, from the time he wakes up to the time that he passes out. The bottle's like on the floor by the bed, and he's drinking again before he can get up and like go to the bathroom in the morning. Like he's waking up, reaching for the bottle. He's drinking before he's even fully gotten out of bed. Like that is the level of like intense drinking that he is doing. It seems pretty regularly, which is not good. Not only because it's incredibly bad for his health, and like he's obviously like become an alcoholic. He was already an alcoholic, but like this level of drinking is like, I would say, probably beyond some alcoholics. Like that's a lot of drinking. And like for him, definitely beyond what he was doing before, which I would already say was some alcoholic behavior. Like, but it's bad for his health, but it's also like bad for them because of their job. Like he's going to be somewhat impaired. Like obviously he's built quite a tolerance to alcohol, but like they do a job where you need to be quick on your feet. You need quick reflexes. They're
shooting guns, and you have to have good aim, and it's just so crazy.
They do a lot of driving, and Gene doesn't like to let Sam drive, so like obviously he's drinking and driving like regularly if he's drinking this much every day, like so that's all bad. And then obviously that speech at the end of the episode about the things that he saw that were beyond words, and like there's no forgetting it, and he'll have to live with that experience in his head forever. It's all bad. So none of that is a good sign. Like that, none of that like good talk to hear. And the fact that he is really insistent on not talking about it, he definitely needs to, in my opinion. But I don't know who else he would talk to besides Sam at this point. But I think he needs to talk to someone who isn't Sam, because I can see why he doesn't want to talk to Sam. Partially because he knows Sam's going to feel guilty, because like Dean going to hell is not Sam's fault. Dean made that deal, but like it's going to feel like Sam's fault to Sam. But also like hearing those experiences is going to be traumatic for anybody, but especially Sam, just to hear about. So like I can see why he doesn't want to talk to Sam about it, but like I feel like he does need to not deal with this internally. He's not doing well at dealing with it on his own. He does need to speak about it to somebody.
Yeah, as someone who struggles with their mental health like that, and who did turn to drinking to kind of help cope, I can understand where Dean's coming from, where it's like, the drinking helps keep the demons at bay inside you and like keeps those thoughts from coming through. But also it feels better when you actually finally talk to someone and tell them like what's going inside your head. Like the first time that I opened up to someone and said, hey, yeah, I thought about unaliving myself for a while, and like finally getting someone else who was outside of my head knowing this information helped a lot. So I mean, obviously Dean's going to do whatever Dean's going to do, and he's not going to like at this point he's not going to want to talk to Sam, and it's going to be a long journey for him, but like it's really cathartic. Like it helps open up your eyes and be like, maybe this is something that helps, and it's not for everybody. Not everybody can talk, and that's fine, but like it helps.
Yeah, I mean, at this point the drinking isn't helping anything. Like it's just delaying Dean having to deal with the trauma in whatever way he's going to deal with it. Like,
yes,
it's not dealing with it. It's just pushing off the having to deal with it. But yeah, I guess we're gonna keep an eye on that because it's not resolved in this episode.
nope.
Soul transactions, we had a lot of wish fulfillment in this episode, but no selling of souls, which is not usually the case. Sam's traumatic brain injury. Sam died in this episode, but not of a head injury, so his head's fine.
Well, I mean, he gets struck by lightning.
Still
but
good to go.
It gets reversed by the taking of the coin out, so I guess it's like it never happened.
Yeah, it's done. It's good to go. It's like it didn't happen. So let's see what else is on the list. Things we need to do and talk about. One-on-one time with Cass. He wasn't here, so none. And no changes to his alleged powers. Wow, okay, I hate the fact that I said alleged powers. Like I didn't believe that he could do any of the things he claims to be able to do.
I mean, he's just a baby in a trench coat, you know?
Cass wasn't here, so there's no changes to the powers that we know about. I thought the hostages, no hostage situations this week. Although I'm really glad wow, just had a thought. Not only was Audrey home alone unattended, but there was a gun in the house.
Yeah, that was easily accessible because the bear got it.
Yeah, and like the bear is alive and like large and like has like and sentient, but like it doesn't have thumbs. Like
so it had to be unlocked somewhere because he couldn't.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it pulled the trigger, so like it's got to have some dexterity. But like, how much dexterity could a bear have? It's just got like stump arms.
Yeah.
Well, okay, now we're thinking too hard about the bear.
But the hostages, I mean, Todd did kind of have those kids.
I mean, I did think about adding Todd with those kids, but like, I mean, yeah, I guess maybe those kids, but like, I guess not, but like, not eyes off the hostages at least. Like, he had eyes on them at all times.
Yeah.
Until he allowed them to go. Slash Jean distracted him long enough. So we're into naming the episode. Francis, do you have any name suggestions for the episodes?
I mean, obviously, since I said that this episode I watched because for the bear, so the one with the suicidal bear.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna add that to the list. I actually came very prepared this week. I have the one where Dean's heart's desire is a sandwich. The one where Sam's struck down by hope.
Oh, jeez.
The one where Sam loses a shoe and then again in brackets. And that was it for my suggestions. I don't like to make them like too on the nose, but like sometimes, you know, they just have to be like, I feel like you can't really go wrong. Like the one with the suicidal bear is like, I feel like very, very much going to tell people exactly what episode this is.
Yes.
And sometimes that is what we want.
Mm-hmm.
To finish off this week's episode, we have line of the week. Francis, did you have a line of the week?
I do. I kind of had two, but
two was great.
It's more, yeah. It was more of like it was a funny haha, but like also kind of not funny at the same time. So like when Dean says women showers, we got to save people, and like he's just throwing money on the table to like get out of there to go to the women in the showers. I thought it was pretty funny.
Creepy this season, but like this is honestly not the worst that he's been. And you know what? He didn't actually deal with any of the shower storyline. Like all of that was given to Sam in the end. So like I'm gonna forgive it because he didn't actually follow through on being creepy.
Good for him. And then the second one was from when the policeman was talking to the deer hunter, and he was saying, well, I don't even know he was a deer hunter. I put him as a deer hunter. Just a dude. Just talking to him. He said, there's a Bigfoot out there, damn it. And he's a son of a bitch. And I thought, I don't know why I thought that was funny. You know, it just kind of made me giggle.
I actually agree that it is pretty funny. My line of the week is Sam when he grabs a previously invisible naked teen in the bathroom, and he goes, don't worry, ma'am, I'm with the health department.
Out of all the things he could have said.
It does feel like something Dean should have said.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if it was intended to be a Sam line, or if possibly because of the fact that Jared was maybe pared down a little bit on the restaurant scenes, if maybe they like switched some stuff around.
Maybe.
And that was intended to be a Dean thing, but who knows? Either way, it was a very good line.
It was a good line.
And I just like when they say like things like "Don't worry, man," because like they're both from Texas, and like the way that they say it just feels very like natural coming from them. That's not a thing that people really say here.
Yeah, it's a very southern thing from here.
Yeah, we don't get a lot of ma'ams and sirs just kind of naturally in day-to-day conversation, and I just think it's very endearing how they both say it.
It's cute. I like it.
But yeah, that's it this week, Frances. Where can people find you if they want to find you?
If they want to, they can find me on Twitter, or I guess it's called X now.
No, we're not calling it that. We're calling it Twitter.
No, I call it Twitter. I don't really use it much anymore. I'm waiting for it to go back to Twitter, but I'm on there as DestiL1993, and then I am still heavily present on TikTok and Instagram as LetItBeLove_93 for both of them.
Excellent.
Oh, I also use Threads, but I don't know how that works either. Misha told me to sign up, so I signed up.
I'm not signing up for Threads because I feel like I'm not sure I'm gonna like it, and I don't like that I can't delete it without deleting my Instagram, which is a thing that I heard about.
Okay.
Also, I already find like Instagram and Facebook talk to each other too much, and I don't want to add a third thing that it will talk to.
True.
I find them to be too interactive. Like, it's annoying. Like, if I like, why am I seeing a reel, but I can't see the comments on the reel unless I go on Instagram?
Yeah, I don't like that.
Why are you showing me the reel? Show me the fucking comments then.
That's like the whole point. Like, I like to watch the reel, and I'm like, well, what have other people been saying about it? And then there's like no comments. And I'm like, oh.
I wish podcasts had comments sections, to be really honest.
Do you know how amazing that would be?
Like, I listen to a lot of like news podcasts, and like, what are other people saying about this event that I spent 10 minutes learning about? Like, are other people horrified, or are other people like happy or upset about this? Like, I got questions. Obviously, if you have comments on this podcast, I absolutely want to hear them. So like, find us on social media, and we're sticking on Twitter. At this point, we're just kind of going down with the ship. Like, it is a hot mess over there, and I will not be calling it X, but like, I am very curious to see like how bad it's going to get. So I'm just kind of like there until it like goes offline, kind of like my podcast app of choice, which is going offline in a couple of weeks. I haven't committed to a new one yet.
Oh no.
Anyway, next week we're into a discussion episode, and I want to tell the listeners about it a little bit. It's going to be on the trope of killing off characters at the ends of series / franchises, rather than dealing with the trauma that's inflicted on them over the course of the narrative. It's not going to be for first-time watchers. We're going to be discussing the end of Supernatural as well as the ends of many other franchises. So we're going to, Ed and KJ might go in at the beginning of the episode and like give a list of all of the things that we discussed the ends of, because there is going to be lots of discussing the ends of things. But we're going to be joined by JJ from TikTok and Mary from Karen Wayward. So it's probably going to be like a pretty good discussion. They're both very knowledgeable and very experienced in talking about media. It's been in the works for a while. I'm very excited that it's going to finally be happening. And yeah, that's going to be out next week.
I'm excited to hear that one. There's a lot. That's a heavy subject.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it.
I've been KJ, and this has been Supernatural Opinions. If you enjoyed our show, the best thing you can do is subscribe on your podcast app of choice and tell a friend. Check out our link tree in the episode description for all of our social media and any other Supernatural related projects we might be working on. Send us an email. Our address is supernaturalopinionspodcast@gmail.com, or reach out directly to KJ @EditandKJ on all platforms. Thank you to Joe Veretta for our theme song, and our logo was created by Faith Ebert of faithanddesigns.ca. The episode was recorded, edited, and produced by me, Ed and KJ. If you want to hear more from me, you can check out my other podcast, Series of Opinions. And last but not least, a huge thank you to all of our guests.
Some things in this world are supernatural. What we need is a savior.